On this last Sunday in Epiphany, we encounter the transfiguration of Jesus, beautifully captured in these words by St. Ephrem Cyrus, a Syrian scholar who lived in the 3rd century. He came down and veiled his face with a veil of flesh. In the brilliance of his light, all Jordan became light. He was radiant on the mountain to a small degree, yet they, the apostles, called the pillars, were shivering, trembling, aghast. He granted them a glimpse of his secret glory to the extent they could bear. The brightness and light which is beyond earthly understanding illuminates Jesus as God's glory is revealed. In his face, we encounter the brilliance of God breaking into the darkness of this world, as a knowledge of God's glory is kindled in our hearts. It is an incredible thing to witness and utterly indescribable. Yet the glory of God is fleeting. It is beyond the disciples and our comprehension. The divinity of Jesus is fully revealed on the mountaintop to Peter, James, and John, as much as they are able to comprehend. They receive a full measure of mystery and awe, as his clothes became dazzling white, such as no one on earth could bleach them. When Elijah and Moses appear talking with Jesus, Peter, completely overwhelmed by the enormity of the moment, wants to do something, anything. He offers to capture the moment by building 3 dwellings. Before the words were barely out of Peter's mouth, a cloud overshadows them. A voice comes forth saying, "This is my son, the beloved. Listen to him." In this moment, God claims Jesus as his son, not only to Jesus as God did at his baptism, but this time to the disciples. The presence of God's glory is more than humans can take in. As the disciples prostrate themselves, cover their faces, overwhelmed in the presence of God, God says, "Listen. Listen to his son." A new reality is revealed as Jesus' being is transfigured. And as quickly as it began, it is over. When Peter, James, and John have the courage to look up, only Jesus is with them. As they come down the mountain, Jesus orders them to tell no one until the Son of Man has risen from the dead. For them to begin to understand who and what Jesus is, the disciples must continue to follow him. They have much more to learn and comprehend. They need the everyday experience of being with him as a fellow human being. Only after they have witnessed the fullness of Jesus' humanity in his death on the cross, and then encountered his divinity in the resurrection, will they possibly begin to comprehend the enormity of their beloved teacher and friend, Jesus, who walked on earth as God with us, changing the world forever. I admit there are times I need Jesus to be a friend, standing or sitting next to me right here. And sometimes I need him to be God, to humble and remind me that I am but a cog in the great wheel of life. Or I need to sense his loving embrace. And then there are moments when my soul just desires to adore him, bless him, give thanks for the gift of life itself. And often, Jesus is everything in between. Throughout all these moments, I ponder, am in awe, wrestle with, and strive to comprehend the complexity of his being, of his divinity. I wonder, who is Jesus to you? Is he a man who walked this earth? Someone whom you can easily understand, embrace, and love? Or is he Almighty God who you venerate, adore, and are humbled by, and perhaps even have a bit of fear for? In his human form, Jesus is comfortable, familiar, a friend. And we can embrace him as healer, teacher, and comforter, the one who lifts us up in times of trouble and loves us. He is a safe haven. In his divine self, he is creator of all that is, the purveyor of possibilities, sparker of imagination, all-powerful. In his godly being, we stand in awe and wonder at the enormity of him as divine creator. He is almighty. And in his humanity, we encounter the radical Jesus, the one who boldly stands up against injustice and abuse. This is the Jesus who turned over the tables in the temple in protest of the authorities' abuse and disrespect for God's house. This is the Jesus who stands for the marginalized, embraces the downtrodden and brokenhearted, sets captives free from their shackles. The divine Jesus can greatly disturb, creating ripples that shake up our comfortable lives. Like the disciples on the mountain, we may find ourselves overwhelmed and awed, even frightened of Jesus' divinity. Yet we are drawn to his glory. As Peter, James, and John and Jesus descend from the mountain, return to the everyday ministry, Jesus sets his face toward Jerusalem. His mission is to complete and fulfill the purpose of his incarnation, which culminates in his death on the cross. On Wednesday, we enter into Lent. We enter into a season of penitence and fasting and of remembering God created us out of the dust of the earth. In this coming season, I invite you to reflect upon, perhaps even experience the fullness of Jesus, both his earthly humanity and majestic divinity. And listen. Listen.